I'm Realtor Deb Tomorrow, and this is At Home in Bloomington, brought to you by Karan Rupp Home Mortgage. We profile the people, places, and resources that make Bloomington, Bloomington, and help you live your best life. At Home in Bloomington. Hello, and welcome to At Home in Bloomington. I'm your host, Realtor Deb Tomorrow, joined as usual by the lovely Miss Karan Rastel, best-time lender in the state of Indiana.
Hey, Deb.
Hello, how are you?
I'm great. How are you today?
Good. So Karan is with Rupp Home Mortgage, our sponsor, and Rupp just changed their logo.
We just did an unveiling of our rebranding on.
Why did they do that to us?
On Friday, August 30th. Okay. August 30th.
Yeah, Remax did that to us last year, and I'm like, I don't know. Well, I'm going to use up the stuff I have before I start to buy new logos.
I think as regular people, as regular employees, knew a month or so ago that it was on the horizon, but I guess it's been in the works for well over a year in preparing everything. But yeah, everything down to what you see online, everyone's individual websites, email signatures, business cards.
All right, we have to get me that stuff so we can slowly work on changing our At Home in Bloomington site, sponsor site.
I have to get rid of these pens.
Oh, no.
Recycle these.
Teacher's Warehouse. All right. Well, we have an interesting show today because for once you actually know who our guest is.
I do.
So no tricking you today. I, on the other hand, have to admit I'm a little anxious because I'm pretty terrified of the things that this person looks at a lot. That sounds bad.
Well, now it is a guided tour, so you're not by yourself.
Okay, here's the thing. Birds?
Yeah.
I'm not a fan.
Okay.
I mean, from a distance.
Okay.
And I'm sure they contribute to the world, and maybe our guests can tell me a little bit more about how they contribute to the world aside from their beauty, because I'm sure there's they probably eat things that, food chain,
I learn
whatever.
something about you all the time.
I was attacked by a parakeet that roosted in my hair on a barrette. If you can imagine, I had a ponytail with a barrette, and it roosted on my barrette.
Okay, in public, or where were you? At a zoo?
It was my second year of college, and my roommate brought a parakeet named Bird to the house, and she would just let it fly around.
That's interesting.
Okay. Yeah, and I walked in the house. There's 5 roommates. There's 5 of us. Walked in the house, perfectly dark. No one's there. It's like a Friday night or whatever, and this parakeet attacked me, and I'm screaming bloody murder.
I could see where the fear would come from. Because you don't know what it is.
And I couldn't get it off my head. I mean,
okay.
You can laugh if you want to.
I'm going to refrain.
Well, I mean, it is kind of funny. Anyway, so it's kind of become a whole thing. And then, here's another digression, but it's my show, so I guess I can do that. I had an employee once who had something like 30 plus birds in her house. And I know she let them fly around. And she would bring me muffins and things. And I couldn't bring myself to eat them because I kind of questioned the sanitary nature of everything. So I would
you're allowed to have 30 birds.
I would sit there at my desk and pick off little pieces of the muffin and throw them in the trash so that it looked like I was eating it because I didn't want.
You went to a lot of effort there to not hurt someone's feelings.
Yeah. Okay, her name was Kathy Griffin. Anyways, or something like that. No, something Griffin. Anyways, that was a long time ago. However. Okay. I will say that to bring balance to the show, he also does something else that I really enjoy, which is kayaking. Mm-hmm. So anytime I get the opportunity to be on the water in a canoe or a kayak, I try to do that. But what's interesting to me is that we usually only do that on vacation. Whenever we go on vacation, I'm like, where can I, take advantage? Where can I kayak? Where can I canoe? Or whatever. Right. Cruise ship excursions. We go to Maine, pretty much every year, and we always do that kind of thing. But it's not anything I've ever done around here because it's just doesn't occur to me.
Well, everyone that knows me knows that I would never do anything like this on my own.
And yet you did.
I did.
So,
and I'm here to tell about it.
Well, I don't know if I want you to tell. I think I want our guests to tell us about how you did.
Sure.
Can he rat you out, Brady?
Probably. I was completely opposite what I would normally be around people. I was rather quiet for the most part. So, yeah.
Well, we welcome David Rupp. I'm going to say that correctly, from IndiGo Birding Nature Tours. And like I said, I'm excited for this show because I'm wondering how many people are like me and they love things like kayaking and hiking and whatever, but mostly only do it on vacation. And this is the kind of thing that we should be taking advantage of at home too, or staycation kind of thing. So welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
So tell us what you do.
I think you've summed it up pretty well so far, right?
Yeah. In the first 5 minutes that I didn't let our guests talk, hey, it's my show.
No, it's. I think my role is really trying to connect people with nature.
Okay.
And so I do that in a variety of ways. One is doing birding trips. So we go out looking for birds and learning about what's out there in nature, trees and flowers, etc. also. And then also the kayaking trips as well. I added that a couple of years ago to what I offer, and that really, I think, expands the appeal of the business and gets more people involved. And it fills sort of that late summertime when people are looking to get outside again after being cooped in with all the hot humidity in the summer, and the birds are a little less active during the summer as well. And so it's a good activity for August, September, October.
Gotcha. So are you primarily birding? Are you primarily birding and kayaking or nature?
I'm always birding.
Okay.
I'm always birding. And
isn't that true of most people? I don't know much about bird watchers. I know that Rachel, show producer, is into birding, and she always talks about apps that she has, and they'll go out and that's just
it becomes a part of you, and so it's really hard to shut that switch off.
So you're always looking.
Yeah. Well. Or my ear. I'm always listening, even if I'm
really?
trying to have a conversation and outside. Yeah. And during the spring when lots of birds are singing, it's hard to fully focus on the person at hand. But I try. That's part of being a tour guide, is to communicate and work with the people that I'm taking
being
out.
a non-birder, by the way. They had terminology that I didn't understand, which was fine because I can follow along and understand. But what I did find was very interesting is that David could just spot something, like literally, I'm exaggerating, a mile away and be like, see, I'm going to like a woodpecker or whatever the bird was. Mm-hmm. But let's just say he's like, it's right there. And I would try to, like, how do you see this? And I had my glasses on. So it was one of the, like he was just saying, I don't know if he's looking per se. I think they just stand out in that landscape, and I saw nothing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I would really have to focus, and then by then it was like, see ya, Karen, I'm flying away.
You got to see some birds.
I did get to see some, but I was like, how do you see that far? I mean...
I'm talking to my guests, but I'm also like paying attention to what's going on around me.
Yeah.
But you've developed this ability to kind of see in.
That, right.
So how did you get this knowledge?
So I always wanted to study ecology. Okay. So I enjoyed being outdoors, canoeing and fishing and camping with my family, growing up. And went through college, had a biology degree, environmental science type focus. And then I graduated. My first job was actually at a camp where I was the naturalist. And I quickly learned how little I knew even after college. And one of the things that really hooked me was suddenly I was in an environment where there were birds all around all the time. And I had people that were really excited to teach me. Mm-hmm. And I was also somewhat responsible to be able to teach others too. And so there became an urgency to learn. It's a little contagious once you get started.
Yeah.
So I'd say it has to do with the setting I was put into. And then my next couple of jobs were in Indianapolis with the city parks. And so I was at Eagle Creek Park, which is a magnificent place.
I grew up going there.
Yeah. And so I learned quite a bit there. And then I was at Southeast Way on the other side of the county for 3 years doing similar type things. And then I think, got comfortable teaching others as well.
I don't know if you can answer this question, but I mean, how many birds do you think you can spot? Like, do you know? Because that's the thing that amazes me is I know there's apps on phones that, and I don't know how you would even begin to like try and describe a bird so the app can tell you. But I mean, I see people post on Facebook, what kind of bird is this? And everybody's like, and I'm like, it's a black bird or it's a yellow bird. Right. That's like the extent of my knowledge. Yeah. So in the woodpeckers, because they kill my trees. But anyways.
Exactly. There's two essential things to birding. One is binoculars, and the other is a field guide. And so those books that have all those pictures of all the birds that are in eastern North America, for example, over the years get pretty comfortable knowing what the options are and how to determine which species you're looking at. And if you're in a certain region, like South Central Indiana, I pretty much know what's going to be here at a certain time of year. And so I'm already limited it down to a smaller number. And then look at things besides just the color. You can look at shape and behavior and habitat. And
is that how you look at app though? And if you have Field Guide or an app or whatever, is like, do you kind of start by color, or do you? I know
depends.
that's a ridiculous question, but I've always wondered it.
So there is new technology that's coming out, and new apps that are available, and one is called Merlin, which is a type of bird as well as a wizard. And so there are little questions that app asks you that you check boxes from color to size, habitat, shape, and then it gives some suggestions and say, is this your bird?
Yeah.
So that's one way.
Well, that sounds like a game. Well, that sounds
your bird?
fun.
Yes.
Yeah, is this your bird? Well, I'll show you my bird.
No, I mean, birding is fun, and that's, I think, what I try to share as well, is how much fun it can be.
Yeah. I mean, it almost sounds like, if you approach it like that, and especially maybe with kids, almost like a, not a treasure hunt, but like a scavenger hunt.
Yeah, I describe it that way sometimes. Yeah. A scavenger hunt.
I can get on board with that.
With a sort of a puzzle type aspect that you incorporate everything all these clues, and try to put that together and to identifying a bird.
Because I'm sure sometimes where you spot them, also not just the color of the bird or the size of the bird, but like what kind of tree they're in or what kind of habitat they're in. That also plays into identifying. Interesting.
Yes.
So here's another question, because again, my base of knowledge is zero. Is Indiana a decent, do we have decent bird watching? I just think of Indiana, it's like, it's Indiana.
So I can go so many different ways with that question. One is that there are birds everywhere. Yeah. And that's one of the cool things about birds is, we can go outside here in the little plaza and look around. We can probably find or hear a couple different things, and go downtown, big cities, and you can find them. You go up in the tops of mountains, you find different birds. So it also ties me to the sense of place, right? I know when I'm in a particular area what type of birds I might expect there, or might be surprised by something that shows up maybe. So Indiana, I think Bloomington's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Especially because we're centered in a place where they're within a half hour in all directions. There's really remarkable hiking trails, forests, lakes, even a place called Goose Pond Fish and Wildlife Area. We'll get there. Definitely want to talk about that. Yep. And so there's all these places within a relative short distance, that even in town, that have lots of birds and other nature as well.
Interesting. Well, let's talk about Goose Pond for a second, because I've not been there. I know a little bit about it. I think it's over by Linton. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And it's actually pretty well known in the area for the birds.
For the birds, yeah. So
that's why it's called Goose Pond.
No,
tell us about it, because you do.
I'm going to do a whole program and presentation on and field trips there. So I'll try to abbreviate, but it's a restoration project from an area that historically was this huge wetland complex. So it was drained, farmed for 100 years, and then people had the idea that we need to get more wildlife habitat restored, and so about late 1990s. A person who owned a big chunk of land put it into an easement, which allowed the conservation people to come in and get to work on restoring this wetland complex. And so it's turned into now 9,000 acres of wetland and grassland habitat. So there's unique birds that we don't find elsewhere. And it's really an important stopover spot during migration. And so we get sandhill cranes are one of the big draws to that area. There's a festival out there, usually right around March 1st.
Is that when the cranes are usually coming back up this way?
Yes, when they're coming. Sandhill cranes are coming back this way. American white pelicans migrate through there. Most people think pelicans in Indiana.
Yeah.
But they actually can get to be 1,000 of those or so on a certain day. Lots of waterfowl and unique raptors, owls, eagles, a variety of things. So I think I call that my spectacle birding destination.
Like the Disneyland.
Wow. Right.
And you do kind of like day tours out there where
most of what I do are day trips from Bloomington.
Okay.
So I might be meeting people from other parts of the state at a destination, but most of the time we have a meetup spot here in Bloomington. People ride with me. I keep the group small, and we go out and spend either the morning if it's close or a little bit longer if it's further away, like Goose Pond.
Yeah.
And just spend the day enjoying nature and learning about things together.
So you kind of have an agenda.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But obviously, people ask all kinds of questions.
Made out ahead of time where we're going to try to get to this place and this place, and most people know that ahead of time that these are the spots I want to stop at.
How strenuous is the Goose Pond trip? Like what ages and that sort of thing?
It is not strenuous at all. Okay. So it could be.
Yeah.
I should say that I do a mix of public and private trips, and so if people have limitations that might keep them from hiking long distance or something like that, then a private trip might be a better option, and so we can go at the pace that they're comfortable with. With the public tours, we really don't cover. Birding is a slow-paced activity.
Right.
It's not like
you can't run and see the birds.
We're not mountain biking here. So it's often at Goose Pond especially, it's a stop at one spot, get out for a little while, maybe walk 100 yards in this direction or that, hop back into the vehicle, drive to another spot, do the same thing. So it's really quite slow-paced. It's more about the conditions out there, whether it's cold and windy or hot and humid. Those are the bigger obstacles rather than the...
Do they have a lot of trails out there or boardwalks?
It's levees mostly. And so they've created these wetlands by piling up dirt. And so they've got these sort of artificial-like ponds.
Okay.
That
it's like a series of ponds.
Yeah, exactly. So it's with the name Goose Pond, people sometimes think it's
it's
one
a
big lake.
Yeah,
but
that's what I envisioned.
It's lots of small ones.
Oh.
And so we can walk the levees, and there's different parking areas. That area is actually... mostly funded and through hunting licenses, and there's quite a bit of hunting that goes on there as well. So you have to be aware of what season might be going on and how to dress and where to be and things like that. But it's also I think a place that really calls for a guide, because I hear from people a lot of time they go out there and
they just sort of stand there and go, I don't know,
what's the big deal? What am I looking for?
Yeah,
and so. That's one place. That's the number one spot that I go, but I have
that's
a lot of
one
others.
Of your favorites, yeah. And that's interesting to me because, Karen, I think if you and I went out to Goose Pond, we would stand there and be like, okay, and there you go.
Exactly. Yes, well, except for maybe a stretch of time when the sandhill cranes are everywhere.
If we went at the right time,
and that's when people often just do little drives by themselves. But there's a lot more than the cranes.
Interesting. Yeah. When we come back from break, I want to talk about the different types of tours that you offer, because there is quite a lengthy list, and we can talk a little bit more about birding as well. Maybe tools that are needed or resources, or I don't know, something to
I've got more
get me started, because.
Well, I think after Friday's trip, there might be more tools in David's toolbox that he may want to start carrying going forward.
I think I saw that on Facebook. Yeah, I think I saw that on Facebook. Yep. All right, well, stick around. We'll be back. You are at home in Bloomington.
Hi, this is Karen Rastel with Rupp Home Mortgage. Did you know there are down payment assistance programs for first-time buyers? A first-time buyer is defined as having no home ownership in the last 3 years. These income-based programs may help buyers with down payment or closing cost assistance. For additional details, contact me today at 812-606-7653. Rupp Home Mortgage is an Indiana corporation licensed by the Indiana Department of Financial Institutions. This is not an offer for extension of credit or a commitment to lend. All loans must satisfy company underwriting guidelines. Equal housing lender. NMLS number 141868.
This is your Real Estate Real List. Real advice on buying and selling real estate based on my experience closing over 800 home sales. Today's list is about the basics. What are the first 3 things you should do when you've decided you want to buy a house? While it's tempting to get on the internet date some houses, and then call the listing agent, or worse, click on the more information button that sends your info to random realtors and lenders all over, that's not the best way to get started. Here are the first 3 things you should do. Number 1, interview and pick a realtor. If you are serious about buying a home, this should be your first stop. Randomly calling listing agents to see homes means the seller's advocate is helping you. The person advocating for the seller, not you. You have the right to your own advocate working for you with your best interests in mind, so start there. Number 2, interview and pick a lender and a mortgage type. There is nothing more disappointing than falling in love with a home and then finding out that the payment is higher than you'd be comfortable with. Everything else you look at will be compared against that home and won't stack up. Getting with a lender prior to looking at homes will ensure you only look at homes you can afford. And number 3, you've got a realtor and a lender and a loan program. Now you can start looking for homes. By having established a relationship with a realtor, you signal to sellers that you are a serious buyer. By having your finances lined up, you are ready to move ahead when you find your perfect home. I know the boring stuff first, but I promise you that if you follow these steps, it will ensure a smoother process with less frustration and disappointment. And honestly, all that boring stuff up front can be accomplished in just a couple days. So contact me and I can get you started. For more information on the basics of getting started buying a home, check out my Real Real Estate Today podcast, episode 46. You can find it on my website, YouTube channel, iTunes, and all your favorite podcast sites.
My name is John Lee. Deb Tomorrow is my realtor. She has helped my wife and I sell 2 homes and purchase another. She's a smart, outside-the-box thinker and truly cares about her clients. Deb makes the complex world of buying and selling homes seem easy, which is a testament to her knowledge and skill. Long story short, Deb should be your realtor too. And now, back to the show.
Welcome back. Thanks for listening to At Home in Bloomington. Before we get back to our guest, David from IndiGo Birding Nature Tours, I do want to throw back to episode 25. This was such a perfect fit. I love when I can reference past At Home in Bloomington episodes and they make perfect sense for the show that we're doing. So episode 25 is when we talked to Sycamore Land Trust.
Oh, yeah.
And what's been on our to-do list ever since it reopened?
Is to get up to that point.
That place called
Deb and Karen's place that we need to get to.
Bean Blossom Bottoms.
Yes.
So here's what's interesting. So Sycamore Land Trust obviously probably provides a ton of great birding spots in South Central Indiana, but you actually do an owl prowl at Bean Blossom Bottoms, and that's one of Sycamore Land Trust properties. It's been closed down and reopened and then hit by a tornado, but still going strong. So tell us about the owl prowl.
Yeah, sure. So,
because it sounds fun.
Yeah.
And perfect for September, October.
It is very much a fall event.
Yeah.
So a couple things. The people enjoy owls. Everybody, even people that don't like birds sometimes maybe like owls, at least from a distance.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it's often a popular outing. I'm going to be contracting with Sassafras Audubon Society actually to do some birding walks in the on a monthly basis here starting in September, and the October one is actually going to be an owl prowl out at Bean Blossom Bottoms.
Nice.
And I've done some work for Sycamore Land Trust in the past before, leading some hikes for them. But what an owl prowl basically is a night hike. You go out for a walk just about dusk and take in some of the sounds and the experience, the sky.
Mosquitoes.
Yeah, maybe.
I would definitely need to partner up with you on this because you know me and the non-nature gal in me. I'd be like, oh my gosh, okay, I hear sounds. I don't know what is that. You have to walk arm in arm.
Do you have, flashlights probably scare people off. So do you just sort of let your eyes adjust?
I tell people to bring them, but not to use them until maybe the walk back.
Gotcha.
Usually eyes adjust. And we'll hoot for owls. We'll see.
Oh, you'll hoot.
We'll hoot for them and try out different bird song, bird calls. I'm not that great, but after I fail a couple times and get them encouraged to try, we all hoot together.
Well, that sounds fun.
And then I'll play the app.
Yeah.
This is what it's supposed to sound like. Actually, I usually start with that and play that.
Right.
But there's often barred owls, or the owls that are usually out at Bean Blossom Bottoms.
Cool. So something to take a look. So if people are interested in finding out some of the tours that are going on, your website is the best place to go for that?
Yeah, I always direct people to indigobirding.com.
Indigobirding.com. And then you also have a Facebook page, which is good to follow.
Facebook, Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So there's
lots
of different ways. Somebody on a tour this weekend, I asked him how he found out. He said, I searched romantic things to do in Bloomington. And then a sunset kayak tour popped up for some reason. So it's I'm always excited when I get at the top of those Google searches.
Yeah, well, you're pretty high up on the list in TripAdvisor as well.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time trying to
encourage
people to put reviews in there.
Right.
And so TripAdvisor is good. The people from Ohio that were with me recently, they found out via TripAdvisor.
I need to go on and do that as a first-time kayaker.
Yeah,
first-time
right? That would be a great review.
Bird or anything, yeah.
But I think that, we always see on Facebook people posting on, whether it's a community site or whether it's just, on their, relatives coming to town, what should we do? And it's like, well, this is like the perfect, because you've got stuff going on almost every day. It seems like options.
Certainly several a week.
Yeah.
And private tours are available if so, I got a call, people coming down with their family from northern Indiana that want to do a little bird outing. So we'll be doing that in October. Often it's, friends or family members that are visiting from out of town. Mm-hmm. That really is a common thing for requests that I get.
Yeah, because I know one time when my nephews came to town, I think I sent them up to Griffey to go take a canoe or something. And I think the boathouse was closed. It was a couple years ago. So now I know. So let's talk about the logistics. If people wanted to do a private tour or if they're going to join one of these public tours, how many people do you usually have on tour?
Usually I limit tours to 5 or 6 people.
Okay.
I'd like to keep it a small group. That the personalized attention is what I really focus on.
Yeah.
And so if you get a whole long string of people, following behind, it's really hard to provide that. And so small groups are best.
Yeah.
But I'll even take out 1 or 2 people, at times. So people can sign up on the website. It can be as simple as going to the website, look at the calendar, click the tour you want to join, pay online. I send you an email. This is where we're meeting, and you're on your way.
Done.
But it can also be a lot more personalized where give me a call or an email and say, hey, I've got this group. This is the kind of thing we might be interested in. What do you have to offer? And then I can make suggestions and make arrangements for a private group or suggest a public tour for them to go on.
Good. Do you have to have your own kayak?
No. I've got a little trailer of kayaks. And so most of the time people are using my kayaks. But if they do have them, I encourage them. I give them a little discount for bringing their own kayak.
Right.
And that works out too.
So I think this is a good time for maybe Karan to talk about kind of what she was expecting versus what was reality. Because we try to do that on this show. We want to kind of break down the barriers and take away anything that people might be afraid of or concerned about. You had absolutely 0 kayaking experience and 1 very bad canoe experience.
That is, yes.
Going into your adventure with David.
Yes. And I was a nervous wreck on the inside, but that's just my nature to be very anxious of the unknown because as we've talked on several of our shows is that I like to know what I'm about to walk into, whether it's a conference room or a restaurant or a museum and just kind of know what the ropes are. I literally just showed up at the designated meeting point with my bottle of water. Yeah. I had already put sunscreen on that morning. But,
what'd you wear?
I wore just some leggings, yoga pants because I figured.
You want to be bendy.
Yes, if I have to jump out of the kayak. And I did dress in layers because we're at that weird time of year here where it was cool in the morning and I thought it was going to be still a little cooler. It ended up getting a lot warmer than I had anticipated, and I brought my bottle of water and that was it. And I didn't think about anything else. And I thought this was a kayaking trip. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize that it was more about nature and learning about the trees. We talked anyway, so on the tour. But when I got there, David did have the kayaks. He had the paddles, the life jackets. I wasn't even thinking that, why would I even have a life jacket of my own just to kind of carry around? But he had those. He also had the binoculars.
Oh, really?
Yes. If we wanted to, of course, you should have seen me. I don't think we got a picture, but I am in the life jacket with the binoculars, because I'm just everything has to be set on me, ready to go.
Right. Because if you see the,
And the other thing too he had was the dry sacks. Is that what they were called?
Yeah.
To put. Mm-hmm. The only thing I had with me was my phone because I thought I was going to take a picture. Yeah. I did take 2 pictures while I was out there. But I also thought too, the final thing was I thought the canoe or the kayak was going to not be as open as it was for me to get in. I thought my legs would be more enclosed, which that had me petrified, but it didn't. But David has a real calming energy about him. And this was the one thing I mentioned to him at the end of the tour, that never once did I feel that I was not going to follow through, finish this. Yeah. I got in okay. Yeah. I got launched okay, or whatever the word is. I got pushed out there, and I was...
And you figured out how to steer and how to keep up? And
about, like, I would say in the first half mile or so of where we were, I'm like, oh, yeah, I can go backwards. Because David goes, don't forget, you could paddle backwards. I kept trying to, like,
go in a circle.
So, but I did get the hang of it.
I do. I try to give some pointers at the beginning, but a lot of it is just like, I need to go out and try this for my own and figure out what's working and what's not working. But I've got like 5 or 6 things that I go over beforehand to try to keep everybody safe and give some tips on being efficient with the paddling.
So, so you weren't exhausted afterward?
No, but it's a workout. I will tell you what. And I was shocked that my legs were tight a couple days later, but that was because of the fear. Yes. So they have these I don't know what they were on the side, footrest. And so I was like, okay, like I literally felt like I was just propping myself up to sit right.
Yeah.
With that. Yeah. So I was sore, but
definitely all ages, all abilities, really.
The main thing I ask of people is, are you able to bend down and get into a kayak and get back out? So that from getting down to a sitting position and then staying back up from like being on the floor kind of thing. If you're able to do that. So
massive knee issues, probably not so much. It's going to be hard to get in and out.
Those are maybe the things to be wary of. But I've had plenty of people elderly people on their first kayak trip, and we make a go of it and do all right. So,
and you were saying, I think over break, that even kids as young as 8, maybe.
Yeah, it
depends on their
I'm certainly
ability.
I don't have any tandem kayaks right now. It's all solo kayaks, and so if it's an athletic kid or a kid that's been out adventuring, canoeing, etc., something before, then I'm willing to.
My mother would say, because I was raised with dance lessons. So I think if you had dance lessons since the time you were 5, you probably got some good balance.
Perfect.
But
the dancers, I'll go ask her, do you have dance experience?
Right. Yeah. Then my mother will be happy.
All right.
I just tried to stay centered. I tried not to. The other thing he said too was, if your weight will follow your head. So if you turn to the left, then you might also, like, your body may be turning too, and you might kind of feel that well. So I just made sure that I was never really doing that, and just.
So were you terrified to like say, oh, look, there's a bird over here, and you whip your head around and then you.
Not so much that like I said, I just said, just don't tell me how deep it is. But we were in a very shallow lake. But still, it's the idea that I don't know what's in there because I can't see it. I can't see beneath.
Yeah.
And we're on still water. I mean, everything I do is lakes and reservoirs. And so it's, you have to provide the power.
Yeah.
But there's no current that's pushing you, getting into trouble.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. How long are the tours typically?
Usually on the kayak trips, we go about 2 hours.
Do you have any idea of how far you go?
Usually about 3 miles, 2 to 3 miles, 2 hours. We don't go at a very fast pace because we're looking at birds.
Sure, absolutely.
Talking about trees and stuff.
Anything else aside from what Karan shared in terms of what to bring or how to prepare?
It's.
I mean, just show up.
Yeah, don't
overthink it.
Don't overthink it. It's really quite simple. And like I said, a lot of times, just if you've been in a boat before, understand the balance, what it feels like to be on water. I mean, I take out lots of beginners, so it's awesome. For everybody.
Yeah. So give us a rundown of the different tours that you do and the locations around.
Ooh, okay. So
as many
birding trips. Let me just places I like to go. I'll just do that. Yellowwood State Forest is a great place. There's a wildlife refuge near Seymour called Muscatatuck National Wildlife Refuge. I like to go there. Places around Lake Monroe, Morgan Monroe State Forest, Goose Pond. Those are some of the main ones locally that I would go. Okay. But then I also do overnight trips and like bigger tours that I'm starting to do more and more of. And so we'll go up to Lake Erie during songbird migration. The birds get sort of stuck right there at the edge of the lake before they make that migration over. And
going north?
Going north.
So they would be going into Canada, probably?
Yeah, exactly.
So where on Lake Erie are you near?
Near between Toledo and Sandusky.
Oh, okay.
And so it's a 5-hour drive from here. And we spend 3 days and usually find well over 100 different types of birds. And great photo. I take a lot of photographers out, actually, as well. Yeah. People like to photograph nature.
And are those trips the kind of thing where, like, you kind of drive up in a caravan, or is it still a small group?
I keep it small group, and I provide the transportation in most situations. There are a few exceptions. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then I'm going to start offering trips to Belize. starting in 2020. So that will be not just birding, although birding will be certainly a big part of it, but also food and culture and Mayan ruins and sightseeing, boating, things like that. So I'm really excited about that.
Have you been going to Belize for a while?
No, but I've a couple times and have worked pretty hard to develop some relationships with some of the eco lodges and some of the tour guides down there. So I'm not going to be the guide. I'm going to be
You're not the expert.
I'm the tour manager, right? And so I'll be along to help everybody out.
Right.
But we'll be using Belizean guides to show us around.
And I assume those will be maybe slightly bigger groups?
Slightly bigger. Right now we're 6 to 8 people. We've got 6 people registered for both of our trips, one in January, one in March, max out at 8. I still like to keep that personalized attention going.
Right.
So I heard from a couple people when I was bringing up the idea that I'd be definitely up for it, but I don't want to be one of 15 or 20 people that's trailing around trying to figure out what everybody else is looking at.
No, that's a good point because you do. I mean, I've done larger group trips like that, and you do, if you get in the back, even though it's only say 15 people, if you get in the back, sometimes you kind of miss what's going on. So do you have plans to look at any other spots or expand that aspect of your business?
Maybe. So I get people requesting Costa Rica. So I think that's probably on the horizon at some point. I'm going to do more things around the U.S. So one thing I'm working on actually this morning is a trip out to Hawk Mountain, which is a place in Pennsylvania where hawks catch northerly winds and pass right over this mountain point where you can sit out and just count birds as they come right over your head.
So they're doing that because it's an efficient way to fly?
Yeah. So they're catching thermals or air that's rising up from the land and gets impacted by the contours of the land. And so that funnels them through this area. And so it becomes a pretty, I've never actually been there during the hawk migration. Yeah. I've been there, but I'm excited to see it go. And so part of it for me is also just finding things that I want to do.
Yeah, right. And then be like, who wants to come along?
Yeah, who wants to come along? I think this will be awesome. So that's part of it too.
Kind of sounds like a dream job to me. I love travel. I love doing things like that. And so, now I'm super jealous.
It is a dream job. And so I should give a little credit to my wife. My Beth Rupp is she's the medical director at the health center on campus.
Oh, okay.
And so she supports the family and allows me to play around with this and do this kind of dream job. But she also loves to travel.
I see, but you take her along, right?
She's a great travel planner, and so is helping me with some of these
awesome
longer, tougher logistic type of trips.
Yeah. So we just have a few minutes left. So I guess I should end on. I do want to, before I ask this question, remind people it's not just birding, it's kayaking, and there's all kinds of adventure offerings. But why playing into my phobia about birds? So can you answer the question? I don't put you on the spot here, but what do birds contribute to the ecology so that I'm more tolerant? I don't kill them or anything like that. I just I'm terrified of them.
Yeah.
And
so,
also
just like any part of any creature out in nature, for the most part, has a role in how it all hooks together. And so, the raptors are providing rodent control. Some of the flycatchers and swallows are eating mosquitoes for us.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, exactly. There are birds that are food for us, if you think of it this way as well. Lots of people are out hunting and providing food and support that way. Let's see here. So it's a lot of things I would say when we're looking at the question, what role does this play in nature? Is it's an indicator of how healthy our environment is. And so if we start losing species, or it's an indicator that things aren't quite so good for us as well. And so when we didn't have eagles in Indiana anymore, we didn't have wetland habitat, we had pollution that was impacting our wetlands. And so that's an indicator that, we might be impacting us too with some of these pesticides and lack of habitat and stuff. And so like
the canary that goes into the mine, and if it doesn't come out.
Ironic that it's a bird. Exactly.
But it's kind of like that.
It's exactly like that.
Okay. Yeah. So speaking of the eagles, have you seen eagles now out at the bald eagles out at the lake?
Yeah.
Typically down around Lake Monroe.
Yeah, so Rachel was actually out with me again on Sunday, and we had real nice views of bald eagles on that kayak trip. So there's good chances when we go to Lake Monroe of seeing eagles, and there's from what the biologists tell me, 15 different nests around the lake.
Oh, wow.
So if you think of this 10,000 acre lake with another 10,000 acres of public land surrounding it, 15 nesting pairs of bald eagles.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's
it's pretty
exciting.
cool.
I saw an article this morning, too, popped up on my Facebook feed. I think it knew that I was doing this episode or something about ospreys.
Yeah.
And that
I got that same pop-up.
Did you?
Yes.
How crazy is that,
You guys
right? Big Brother's watching.
Yes.
Clicking the IndiGo Birding
right, there you go. There you go.
Times.
But yeah, they were saying that we've had a lot of high water this year on the lake. It's about 15 feet higher than it normally is. And the one benefit from that is that it has protected an area where ospreys typically nest, and it's kept people from getting too close. And I don't think people are going in and taking the babies, but
disturbing.
Disturbs
just
it
by
a little
being
bit.
too close. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I have seen more osprey this year than past years. So I think there's something to that.
Yeah. So, I mean, not just warning us, providing sort of an early warning system of, hey, something's going on, but also, I think, letting us know when we're doing the right things. And,
definitely.
if you're seeing populations come back, then that should be motivation to keep doing what we're doing.
One species I think that speaks to that perfectly is the eastern bluebird. That's a bird that people see now, I think, all around Bloomington in town. That was not here 30 years ago very much, and it's because humanity, whatever. People have been putting up these nesting boxes and been monitoring those boxes, keeping them in good shape for the bluebirds, and they are taking advantage of that.
Interesting.
So,
I never knew that.
So, yeah, lots of bluebirds around.
My mom's a fan of bluebirds. She says the bluebirds of happiness. Yes. I don't know what that means, but anyway, she has a thing. All right. Well, again, I want to encourage people to go to indigobirding.com and the Facebook page. Check out these tours. I think they're a really cool thing. And right now you've got a schedule. You usually schedule a couple months in advance.
Yeah, a month or two in advance. And I'm always adding to it, making little tweaks.
Yeah.
But,
So go back and check that. These are the kinds of tours you can do over and over and over again. So thank you for providing this unique service to our community as well, because I've never really seen anything else quite like it out there.
Well, it's my pleasure, and I think Bloomington's a perfect place for this type of thing.
Absolutely. We appreciate you joining us, and we will be back with another episode. You are at home in Bloomington. Got a show idea? I'd love to hear it. And be sure to contact me for all your real estate needs and questions too. You can email me at deb@realrealestatetoday.com and follow me on Facebook at Deb Tomorrow Realtor. To contact Karan Rastel for all your mortgage needs, call 812-606-7653 or log on to ruoff.com and go to the Bloomington Center. Thanks to all the Bloomington people who make production of At Home in Bloomington possible. Special thanks to superstar producer Rachel G. Gregorio, digital guru Cynthia Hogan at Monster Digital Marketing for website design and hosting, and video genius Wes Lasher in the production house for engineering the show.